the success of relationships comes down to the man's willingness to keep the relationship going. To me, relationships fail when men stop trying.
Time. Welcome, friends and enemies, to Dogs and Conversation. Have the astute honor, privilege to once again welcome my brother from another mother, the one, the only, Clifton, Troy Rhodes, the third. Welcome, brother.
Hey, what's going on? Everything's
you
good?
Got it. All is well. Now, you tell me, last time we talked, bro, we didn't lay it out because, we're fortunate to have a worldwide audience now, so we didn't get to the locale, but there is no problem, if you would like, for us to let folks know how they can get crispy, buttery, sharpened out if they happen to ever come to the West Michigan area and they would like to have one of those crispy crisps, slicely sliced, buttery butter.
Well, I'm with a well-established veteran in Mr. James Price at his establishment, Lady Love Barbershop, been in business since 1972, located at 1117 Wealthy, open hours of operation Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, 9 until the cuts are done. Appointments available, walk-ins are welcome. Come on by, check us out. Love to see you.
Now, I can attest that if you want someone who does it right. Now break it down, bro. How long's it been? How long you been giving brothers to sharpity sharp?
As a licensed barber, we're in 20 plus years. Yeah, so it's definitely an accomplishment. You never know how things are until you look back over time over them. In hindsight, man, love the barbershop, love barbering.
What do you love about the shop, bro?
Well, the shop itself is just, I want to say, one of the last public forums where men of color can come and sort of let their hair down, if you will. Honest conversation, honest feedback, everything from simple things like sports and, favorite teams to, deep things like family situations, politics, society. We even touch on spirituality and religion every once in a while, but I think all topics are available. And I think in that venue of the barbershop where there's just not too much judgment. I think everyone has an opinion, but the judgment on the opinions is kind of set aside for the occasion, I guess, of being in the barbershop and just getting groomed, peace, counseling, whatever you want, personal time, mental health.
All of those. On the brother's side, or the ladies when they are in there for 4, 5, 6, 7 days? Is it the same over there? Is that your experience, or is it a brother thing?
If I'm understanding the question, you're asking me to compare the beauty salon to the barbershop?
The conversation, just the conversation, whether or not everything.
Well, I would say the conversations are comparable.
The truthfulness, the non-judgmental, the whole thing.
Well, I think in all fairness, you have a barbershop where men can be men and a salon where women can be women. Do I think it's the same? the overview, I think, is the same. The comfortableness, the relaxation, the atmosphere is the same. I think what it brings out of each of the different genders is a little different, you know.
How would you break that down?
I don't know. I from my time in the salon, it's a little more kickback. They do get on serious topics. They do get on politics and current events. It's just, in my opinion, not the same energy as in the barbershop. But once again, you might have to ask a salon lady to have that same description, and she might describe it a little differently. I'm aware that my interpretation of the salon might be a little biased because you know, I'm all about the barbershop.
No doubt, no doubt. I do think, you know, I mean, obviously we're coming from a man's perspective, but I do think, you know, there has to be something to be said for the industry as a whole. The fact of you're not at your best when you are in that seat. You know, you're not sparkling yet. And whether the gentlemen or the ladies, you know, especially when they're getting the wash and the this and the that, you know, you catch them halfway through. That's a very vulnerable state, but yet everybody in the room is in, you know, a similar situation, staged type thing. That's an interesting perspective, especially at shops like where you are and have been for years, where you might have the men and the women a few feet away. And so, you know, you actually can see somebody in a different way that you never would have seen them out in public. So it's a very unique place where the truth gets told and people know that it's a community. It's a community right there. It's a microcosm of everything that happens within that community. And just the news, the relationships, the truthfulness. I agree. It's a very special institution that we don't want to lose. We don't want to lose that one. So as we progress, what else is happening in your world, brother? I just wanted to make sure that we let folks know that, you know, we can certainly get close to you. Crispy.
Well, it's always good to have a job plug, you know, my place of business, but it's also a place of recreation. It's wonderful to have the two together. As far as what's going on, there's a lot going on. How are the dogs doing? How are the guys growing?
Yeah, there's 5 boys, 4 girls, and as you can see, there's no letdown in the fun. No letdown in the fun. That's a big part of, obviously, what we do. If they are enjoying themselves, a picture is worth 1,000 words, they say, right? I mean, if they are enjoying themselves, which they clearly are, you know, if you see children running around happy, you see children having a great time, looking healthy, strong, and having fun, it speaks volumes. And, you know, that's why we don't have a problem at Rhodes German Shepherds displaying, saying, look, if you have a question, we can show it. We don't have to hide it. We can show it. And so, you know, you see that you can't hide that. You see the health, you see the enjoyment, you see the comfortability.
I think for me, as a dog guy, I just see the temperament, just the behavior, the personalities of everybody getting along. That's a thing that can't be taught. You know, that's real positive. That demeanor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It goes a long way. Now, you know, I mean, I don't want to take too much credit here because as time goes on, you know, I mean, we're still talking about pack mentality. So there still will be a pecking order, and that will have to be established if it's not already established. You know, I mean, I obviously know certain ones that have already put their bid in and said, you know, I'm that one on, you know, so that's going to just be a natural thing. And for future dog owners or those that have experienced it themselves, they know it's just a part of it. Nobody's trying to take someone out.
Well, right. It's
But there is a
it's
order.
just I get
There's
to
a
I get to get a little kibble before you do type of vibe.
yeah. But it's a natural occurrence, and if you are able to responsibly let it play out, uh, sometimes that moment may be all it takes. Just to establish that, okay, this is where I am in the pack, and we as humans have to obviously establish that as well, and that's just a fact. You need to, if you are the alpha, then there will come a time where your companion may just say, yo, who's following who here, and should I
Right.
really give over? I've got serious teeth, I've got serious strength and speed, etc. Should I really follow you? Are we sure about that? So people may not talk about it, but it's natural. It is a natural thing. If you put a group of boys and girls in a classroom, there's going to be a natural thing that's going to happen over time. There's still going to be a pecking order. We're talking about natural things.
Yeah. I think that's a idea that a lot of people don't touch on, is just the naturalness of things in life, and how we need to go with the flow of the river and be as natural as possible. Now that one that I'm seeing, I want to say that's light blue collar, but maybe, I don't know. I'm commenting on
Right there, that's Atlas. Right there in the middle, right there, that's Atlas.
Let me see in the middle, because I was looking on the
to your
smaller
left now.
screen above me.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm looking at the main screen. Okay.
Well, the reason I'm thinking is because I'm liking the coloring. One of them has some coloring in his coat or her coat that I'm digging,
Yeah.
and it's
So the light
different. That one
blue,
right there. That one right there. It's almost like a stripe behind the front legs. Just that brown goes up a little bit higher than the others.
You're digging that.
Man, that's fly, bro. That's fly. Because looking at it from the top, it's very symmetrical. It's very symmetrical on both sides.
Mhm.
I got a thing about imperfections. I think that's the standout to me.
That's a
And
good
then
thing.
I'm keeping the ears are very close together on that one.
Yes. Yeah. There's a development process, and we got to get Big Mike on. That there's a color change that occurs. I mean, all of these beautiful companions of ours, all 9 of them, they come out black. This is,
Mhm.
you're talking 99% black when the birthing process right there.
Right.
And I reluctantly let you know that I filmed the whole thing. So
Whoa.
yeah. So maybe one day I'll release some of that footage, but not for the
Whoa.
faint of heart.
You're gonna need some signage on that. You're gonna need some
Not for the faint of
NDAs or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's whoa.
Everything went well, obviously healthy and strong, but they're just like again, we compare it to the naturalness. There are a lot of human beings who haven't seen a human birth, and if they were to be in that room, you would need the same disclaimer and disclosure, like, whoa, yo,
Well, listen,
you about to
man.
see something that you might not be ready for.
Well, look, it's a life-changing event, to say the least. That's just the minimal verbiage that you can put to it, but there's so many things that cannot be captured with words that you just have to experience in the whole thing. It's a lot going on. And I don't know, I touched on it briefly in a text, but this past week has been kind of crazy. My wife had a situation where we ended up in the hospital, and she had to get some surgery. It was kind of wild, because when you were talking about possibly showing the birth, I'm recalling when the doctor came to talk to me after the surgery was finished, and he's describing to me in detail, because it was an invasive surgery, but it was done with robots. It was a scar tissue situation. She had a hysterectomy, and on the healing of the hysterectomy, where the scar was and where it attaches or presses up against the intestines, they had started to attach. And then in that attachment, some of the scars were actually squeezing the intestines, preventing smooth flow. So, of course, that needs to be rectified because it was causing all types of backups. Long story short, the surgery, what they're able to do now is just amazing, and the minimalness of how they're getting in there. She has 4 slits in the top of her abdomen, approximately 3 inches apart, maybe 4 inches, something like that, 3 to 5 inches apart. So 4 slits, 3 to 5 inches apart. The top part of the abdomen, below the chest, but high up on the abdomen. In these 4 slits, there's robotic arms that are inserted. They blow up the area with air so they can have a better view. And then when they do that, you can see the scar tissue clinging to the bowels. And this is where they come in with the robot arms and begin to relieve the pressure and all these other things. And he's telling me this, describing it through a 3D imaging type of vibe. And, he wanted to show it to me on the, what is it? I guess it was like a laptop, a handheld, a tablet, whatever you will. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready to see that part of her. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we got a close connection, and I've seen a lot, but yeah, I'll pass on that and take the verbals. But it's just interesting what's capable.
What a blessing, though, man, because we thank you for sharing all that. It's very intimate and personal, and you and your wife, blessings to you both, much love to you both. It's a blessing that what you're telling me, it all worked out, right? I mean, it all is on the positive now.
Yeah, in those situations, man, it's man, of course, the gambit. Anytime you have a loved one with any type of situation, your mind goes crazy because there's so many things that you just don't have control over. And that in itself is a situation. But yeah, things are definitely on the positive tip. She's home. She's recovering more quickly than they even thought she would. She's bounced back tremendously. Thankful for all of that, Thankful for all of that, no doubt.
How many years you got in the marriage, bro?
Bro, marriage, short time. I'm going to say 4 years, but the relationship itself, we're talking 30 plus years on and off.
Jeez. What a blessing. What a blessing.
Yeah, it's a lot of ups and downs in there, a lot of growth changes on her and my side,
Yeah, when it comes to relationships, you've had a few, I've had a few. What are your takeaways? Like when you talk to your children, when you discuss with people at the barbershop and they come in with relationship issues, what type of things, what are your go-tos?
I think for me, the main thing that stands out glaringly is choice and how to make the right choice when given certain signs, good or bad. I think the hardest part for humans is knowing when enough is enough, or knowing when to capitalize on a situation and hold on a little bit longer. I mean, those things are all difficult. Relationships are difficult. Every individual is bringing in their own set of baggage, their own set of standards, experiences, whatever have you. And then to try to find someone that is congruent with that, but at the same time, different enough to challenge you and keep your interests, man, that's a tall task to try to accomplish.
When you say challenge, let me break down on the challenge part. what type of challenge are we talking about? And if I can expound upon my question if you don't already, hear where I'm at. But what type of
No, we
challenge?
can go from there. Challenges to me are simply differences. Favorite cereal to what you believe in and how you want to raise your children. All of those things are talking points, negotiating points, if you will, because everything in a relationship is a negotiation. Once you get down to humans and whatever have you, like you were saying, if you put people in a group, there's a natural thing that happens. But I think humans themselves have an idea of how they want things to work out or how they want things to go, i.e. an agenda. But can you implement an agenda if the individual on the other side has an equal agenda, but it's opposite or different, or I don't know. I mean, those are the difficulties, negotiating differences and making sure everyone comes out feeling like they benefited. That's the part. That's the part.
Yeah.
Now the truth of that
selfishness,
part,
though, right? I think there's a lot of selfishness. I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
well, I was going to tell you the truth of that part to me. And this is a man who's been in some difficult relationships. I'm thrice married. I'm on my third marriage now. So that means twice divorced. So when I'm saying this, I'm saying it from my perspective, my standpoint. Someone has to take less. Someone has to always be relationship oriented.
This is where I was cutting in right there with that selfishness and how that plays.
Yeah, I heard you coming, but I wanted to throw it all out there so you knew we was together.
Go ahead, bro.
So somebody is going to have to take less. And in my experience and from what I've seen, it's always the man. Now, I wish so much that we had women in here talking so that they could rebut or try to rebut what I'm saying. But from the beginning of time, the man is making a way, making a piece, making a place for the woman.
Let me pause you. Let me pause you right there and let me put that out there. I heard that as a challenge, yeah. So Gregory Hines, that brother taps, man. So yeah, if by chance there's a bold soul, a brave soul out there of the female persuasion, you should drop a little comment and we may let you vent your opposing view. But I will tell you, we will be respectful. So as long, we'll meet respect with respect. But I did hear him say he wishes that we had. So if we are blessed with that opportunity of someone who's bold and believes they have an opposing view, or maybe you even want to co-sign the view, give us a shout in the comments, and we may give you the link and you can come on. So proceed, bro.
Yeah, but that's my perspective of it from the little time that I've had to be involved in relationships and witness relationships. I've witnessed many men doing whatever was in their power to make sure that their woman was happy, satisfied, and pleased. And I think...
Hold on. You see on this slide here, a man has something in his mouth. Take a quick break. I'll be right back. We'll be right back, bro.
Okay, take care of it.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are back. And I see our special guest has taken a break as well. So we'll let him join us in a moment. And turn up the music a little bit. Oh, there he is. All right, we're back. All good. All is well on the front. Proceed, bro.
We were talking relationships, and my opinion on the success of relationships comes down to the man's willingness to keep the relationship going. To me, relationships fail when men stop trying.
So you're blaming it all on the brothers? Is that what I'm hearing, man?
I see, when we use words like blame, that puts it into a negative connotation, in my opinion. I choose to put that power in a man's hands, because it's his choice as a man which woman he chooses to pursue. It's that man's choice if they want to go deeper, become married, have children, whatever have you. He's going to be the one that is making the initial move on that decision. And if he has the power to choose and he has the power to select, then he also has the power to make sure it succeeds. That's my opinion.
Okay. All right. So if we are going to take responsibility as men, then are we to deal with women? Are we to relate with women who accept that role and thereby say, I hold you responsible, yet I will follow your decisions? You dig where I'm coming from? So if the buck stops with me, if that's the case, but I have troops, as an example, who are doing their own thing, their own way, am I to be held responsible if the troops have not signed on that I am in that position?
The simple answer, yes. From my dealings in the service, attitude reflects leadership. So if you are leading properly, if you are doing your job as a leader, those will jump in line behind you. And all these things, once again, can be debated, can be argued, can be whatever. These are my feelings, my opinions on what I've witnessed. And as a man, and this is the crux of it right here. I don't think you can say you're a man and also say you're a victim at the same time. I don't think as a man you can be a victim of anything.
Okay, so let's say, and I might just be throwing you softballs that just better amplify your point, but for the sake of fleshing it out, so let's say a Nelson Mandela who stands up and fights for freedom in South Africa and ends up being in prison for umpteen amount of years.
Decades.
Okay. So is that brother, does he have the right to say, yes, I made the call, but I'm not responsible for apartheid. I'm not responsible for the injustice. I'm not responsible for the fact that I'm not with my wife, my family. I'm here, in prison. And by the way, thank you for your service, bro. You mentioned that. So, is that really wrong for him in that spot, sitting in that jail cell, to say, I made the choice to stand up, but the injustice that came my way, that's not my fault?
I think you can say that, but at the same time, you got to go back to your original moment of having the opportunity to choose. He could have chose, like many others did, to deal with apartheid, whether they liked it or not. When things started getting hot for him, started getting more difficult for him, he had opportunities. At least they were told to us in a public forum that he had opportunities to stand down, cease and desist, and things would, be easier. Once you choose, everything that happens after your choice, you have to accept. That's just what it is. If you choose to wake up, whatever happens in that day is what comes. If you don't want to deal with it, don't wake up. I'm just saying, as men,
if I hear your point as a man, if I understand your point, as a man, you have no right to claim victim at any point in your life as a man. This is your point.
That's my opinion for sure. Now, it took me a long, tough road to get there, but I think for me personally, being there gives me a power over the things that have happened, and it gives me the ability to affect change moving forward. If I know I got myself into something, I can choose to get myself out. Anything that happens, well,
that's Neo for sure. I mean, that's Neo Matrix for sure. And I hear, but I want to further understand. I want to further understand. So if you are a boy, not a man yet, you're a boy, no rites of passage, where do you fall on that spectrum as a boy, as a child?
Well, when we're saying boy, we got to put it plainly that there's no age on that. We know there are what would be considered mature grown adults who still act childish and still do childish things. My opinion is God created this earth for us and left us in charge of it to do the best with it until he returns. That being said, the only person we can go to for questions as answers is the creator. Everything else down here has been left to us to flesh out, to design, to make work. And we've come up with society. We've come up with laws. We've come up with government. Some good, some bad. Some of it's used maliciously, whatever have you. But where we are in society today is where we are. But as men, I think our job is still the same as prescribed in the reference of my choice, the Bible. Protect and provide. And above all,
so I'm understanding, and I know I'm cutting you out a little bit.
No, you're not. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Appreciate that. Is God a man?
Well, now that is difficult to say. I'm not sure deity is low down like humanity. I haven't done deity, so I can't speak on what deity is. I don't know if deity has gender. I haven't transcended to that level, so I have to acknowledge what I don't know and acknowledge what I don't understand. God is. That's what I know. I know there's a creator behind it. They never spoke about God's wife, but they never said that God was the husband. They talk about the Holy Spirit. They talk about his son. We infer a lot of things when we say those things, but that might be just the humanity trying to describe something that we don't have the words for. And I accept that. Is God a man or a woman? I'm pleading the fifth. I don't know, but I know he created us. That part I'm for sure. So I'll speak it to that and leave it at that.
Okay. And the marching orders that we're taking, you say from the Bible, are those marching orders for man? Does that connect? And I need to say perfectly, does it connect perfectly with the idea that you're expounding on as far as the awesome responsibility? Does that relate completely to what God designed for man?
Well, I think in the in the in humanity itself, I think that's the beauty of it, is that everyone's interpretation of the Bible might not exactly be the same. Um, in my interpretation, what I'm saying fits perfectly. We were created to be overseers of the earth, the planet, the humanity on it, the animals, the air, the water, the sea. We're supposed to take care of all this. And we figured out how a lot of it works. We figured out how a lot of it would be better if. But our own selfishness, stubbornness, I don't know, desire for finances prevents us from doing it all the way right.
Well, let's go a little deeper as we always do, bro. And I'm gonna take a turn with you, and let's see where it goes. But is it possible, bro? Is it possible that that charge that you're speaking of, to take care of the planet, to take care of the necessities of life, and to be the leader, and to all these things, is it possible that that decree, that creation, that charge was just for Adam? And once sin entered the world and everything got upside down, if you will, can we really say that that charge still exists for Tommy, for Johnny, for, Mitchell, for, is that charge still the same charge, or was that charge specifically for the man that was created for Adam? And had he done what he was supposed to do, maybe he can still say, I'm wearing the banner of what I was created to be. Or because sin entered the world and they were cast out of the garden, and now we have all of this chaos, is that charge really in effect?
Once again, I got to speak from where I'm at, and everything is the words to me. So the simple answer I would give is yes. The details behind the answer, my supporting stuff behind the answer, is that I'll call the charge an order. Given my military background, we don't question orders; we just accept them and follow through. God, Creator, being the general, being the head, gives an order. We have to follow through with that order. Now, yes, sin has entered the world. Things have changed. Things happen. That doesn't change the order. Now, whether everybody's able to do it, accomplish it, get on board with it, that's the weeding out process of who's going to make it. And by make it, I mean, to the other side, to the next level, the next phase.
But isn't there something there, bro? Isn't there something in the order of divine creation in that garden where things were how they were designed to be? There's no sin. There's no sin. And the turning back on the order, there are consequences. Women in childbirth, men have to work, sweat their brow. I mean, that's all in the same Bible. So I'm still pushing a little bit on the order and how things. I mean, at that point, there wasn't even death, because the Bible teaches us that the end of sin is death, right? So that's the need for Jesus, and that's the need to have this rebirth so that we can now receive eternal life again. But Adam already had it. Adam was already good. There's no sin, there's no death.
I'm with you.
So I just, if in fact, because we go full circle. So when we go back to this relationships, and if in fact the man has this charge, and we're saying he has this charge from creation, if we're saying he has this charge that Adam received, but yet there's a problem in that Adam wasn't even allowed to stay in the garden. Adam himself was kicked out the garden and had to fend for himself in an entirely different world, in an entirely different scheme. He didn't even have the same power nor conditions. There's no, well, don't eat the fruit of this tree. You're just out, separated from God. You're just out.
Yeah.
So are we really allowed to still acquiesce to the original order? Because we're not in that original garden where the original order was given.
Well,
it's almost like, while you're in my house, this is what I need you to do in my house, okay? But now if you're not in my house anymore, we're not in the garden anymore, then what is it?
I think we're still in the house because we're still on the planet. I think we might have been moved out of the penthouse or the most comfortable spot situation because of choices we made that come with actions or reactions, consequences. I'm sorry. That being said, knowing how close we were to God, knowing where we were, where we came from, the best way to get close to being back to that is to do what we were supposed to do in the beginning, or at least attempt to do it. So yeah, the charge is still on, the orders are still there. It's just by our own actions, we've made our road more difficult. That doesn't mean that we just still can't go down the road. It just means there's obstacles now. You deal with them. You have to. It's part of it. But Jesus came into the world, in my opinion, to show humanity an example that you can still be human and avert sin. That's not saying that you're just human and you have to sin. You can choose not to. Jesus did it. And he was challenged on every level that humans are challenged on. Temptation, all these other shenanigans, backstabbing by close friends, family, relatives, shunned in society, getting a bad name, whatever you want, he dealt with it. And his reaction is the examples that we need to adhere to so that we can make the right choices when things come. Because once again, can't be victims, can't be anything but what we already are. We're the men, we're the overseers, we're the ones that we're the gatekeeper right now until boss comes back, until Hefe returns.
I'm hearing that, and I want to grab a quick scripture. Just hang on for a second, bro. Hang on. Let me, because I wanna go just another step or two on this. Just hang on for a second. Okay, we're back. Okay, bro. So I just wanted to be able to type it in here right quick. That was the delay. I wanted to make sure I could type it, get it in there right quick. So this is 2 Corinthians 4:4, King James Version. All right, whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them who believeth not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. Now, the essence of why I wanted to grab this was, in whom the God of this world, right? And I know you've seen this, but the God of this world. Let me move you up a little bit so we can see you better. All right. So your thoughts now as we look further into the charge, right? So if we're pushed out, Adam's pushed out, and we're talking order, but who is the God, little g, according to the Bible? Who's the God of this world now? So when we say the house is the same, are we so sure the house is the same if we're dealing in a world where Satan has, according to scripture, the awesome title of a little g God?
Well, I gotta come with my training on how to decipher scripture. My boss, my teacher, my pops always told me, whenever you're reading scripture and you pull a verse out, which is fine,
To get the
you have to
context.
put it in
Got to get the
context.
context.
You have to
Absolutely.
find
Absolutely.
who's talking to who, what the
Absolutely.
situation is, where are they at in time. Is it somebody telling you a story, or is it a story being told from a different perspective?
Absolutely.
All those things have to kind of be spoke on to put this verse in the right context, because that's where those charlatans get their game from. They pull out a verse and then they dazzle you with some words. And all that being said, reading the verse for what it is, and whom the God of this world hath
Well, let's slow down.
blinded.
Let's slow down, because we have the same teacher. So we have the
Right.
same teacher. So let's make sure that we are able to accomplish that. Okay. So what I'm looking at doing here, we grab the chapter 4, and I'm over here grabbing the chapter, and I don't know how much we're going to be able to get in the actual chat. Need to share the screen would be an easier way, but we'll just start off. I'll just unless you want to pull it up on your side, but I'll start loading some of it in the chat, and that'll at least get us somewhere. Might be able to do a verse at a time or something. Might be what we have to do.
Well, I'm not sure you need to put it all up there, but that's up to you.
Well, just so that all right, let's just see how far we can go. I don't, obviously it's not letting me do the whole thing, so let me just at least start it off. Okay, so that's the first verse.
Well, for
So
me,
if you're
on
on YouTube, by the way, to the audience, and we're dealing with 2 Corinthians chapter 4, and trying to get as much of it as we can to fit in the chat.
For me, I think just a brief overview of what's happening in the chapter, what's going on in the situation around this verse, what's happening leading up to this verse that this is said. Those things to me are enough to put it in the right context. And then when we speak on it or respond to it, it has some more teeth to it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, we were well taught by the master, and so that's why I was saying if you could pull it up on your end, it would help to do that, because they're not all fitting. We only have so many characters here. So, but I've got, okay, so at least we have the first 4 verses is what we'll at least have. Okay, so the verse that we were looking at is verse 4, and these are the other 3 that start the chapter. And again, for the audience, if you are on YouTube, you'll be able to see in the chat, in the comments, the verses. But it's 2 Corinthians 4, King James Version.
And if I'm understanding and reading this properly, or remembering what I'm supposed to be remembering, this is a letter Paul's writing to the church at Corinth,
Correct.
speaking about days and times that they were in at that moment.
Correct.
A lot of, in my opinion, a lot of what Paul was doing was trying to educate these other churches and bring them up to speed, almost, for lack of better terms, third world churches, trying to bring them up to first world mindsets. You know what I'm saying? These are barbaric individuals, if you will. They want to be Christians, but they don't know the nuances of what it really means. And Paul is breaking stuff down in these letters so that they know the what, when, where, whys, and hows of what Christianity is really about. Now, that being said,
I think that historically, you're correct that you have epistles that are given credit by most scholars to be of the hand of Paul. There are some who, suspect that maybe he wrote more, and some believe that maybe he wrote less than he's given credit for. But we do know that when it comes to the New Testament, a major impact he's given credit for. And you are absolutely correct that these are epistles, letters that were given to these individual churches. And I would agree with you for those who historically say, well, that was, again, a message for a particular place and time. There's an opposing argument, though, where people believe, many millions of people, that every word in Scripture is for the people, and that
Amen.
We are to believe and accept every word to be applicable in spite of the historical, this was written by this man for this time, et cetera, et cetera, et
and
cetera.
I'm so glad you saying what you're saying, bro, because that's what I want to say about this verse.
Go ahead, bro.
In whom the God of this world hath blinded. Okay, that is King James Version, but let me read this NIV version. The God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers so that they cannot see the light of the gospel that displays the glory of Christ, whom is the image of God. Now, just to go back over that first part that I want to touch on, the God of this age, it's those words right there come out to me differently than in whom God of this world hath blinded. The God of this age to me speaks to right now, because the God of this age is getting money, capitalism. You understand? And that's where we all messed up out here for. It doesn't necessarily, in my opinion, speak to, like it said in the King James Version, not changing scripture, not changing whatever, but just fleshing out the meaning for a current time. And that's how I look at it. They're talking about, like the NIV version says, the God of this age, not turning anybody into a lowercase god. Anything can be a god if you put it in an idol fashion. And for now,
that's true. We were taught that even a chair, a table, people, even
a car, man, a car,
yeah,
shoes, whatever have you.
Yeah. So that's cool. That's copacetic. But the difference here, though, even in those translations, we're still, for our purpose, what we were trying to see if we could glean from this is the charge, and if the house is the same. That's why I went to the verse, right? Is when we talk about whether or not the world order is the same, or if there is an opposing order by the ruler of this environment. We know the ultimate power, God.
Mm-hmm.
Full respect, reverence, right? But just like when Jesus was tempted, and you know the story well, Satan says, hey, I can do this, I can do that. If you do this, I could do this and do that. I mean, was he lying? Was he lying to say
I
that
don't
I can
think
do
so.
these things?
I don't think so. I think the devil does have power in this world.
Okay, where did he get that from?
He got it from God.
Now, that's some deep stuff, right?
Man, we got to go back to the origin. Where did my man come from? You know what I'm saying? He was created too. He had an agenda too, and that's where these the naysayers of Christianity, the naysayers of religion, or people that go against religion. Those are those things that they point out, the discrepancies. Those discrepancies. If he created the devil, how is the devil so powerful and going against him? Blah blah blah. That kind of situation. I think it's just interpretation. I think at some point you have to recognize that we're not going to grasp it all in our human minds. And if we could explain it, articulate it, and break it down so everybody could just get it, is it really all of that anyway? I mean, there's got to be some mystery to it because he's the creator of all things. How could we have his mind? We made in the image and the likeness, but man, we just can't know everything that is supposed to be known.
Deep stuff.
We're still learning every day.
Deep stuff, bro. Give me a minute. Guest a moment to return. There he is. All right, bro. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right. Go ahead. As you were saying, that gets difficult. Proceed. What to believe, how to believe.
Well, yeah, that's difficult. And I think as believers, you just have to accept a level of, I'm not always going to have an answer for you. I'm not always going to have the words that are going to satisfy your curiosity. There's this thing called faith. That's a huge part of everything we're talking about. In order for any of this to work, you have to first have faith that it's real. And that's the beginning part. You got to believe first. That's all salvation is the belief. If you believe Jesus died for your sins, you covered. But you got to believe it. If you don't believe it, if you question it, you doubt it, that couldn't have happened. It is what it is. You got to figure it out on your own. The book don't speak highly of that, though. You're going to be down here with some real foulness. If you think it's bad now, man, just give it a minute.
What do you think about, predestination, people that believe in fixed states and it's already been determined, right? I'm actually going in a separate place with you right now. So not necessarily that right there, but the question of, do you believe that even the spirits could change, or are they fixed? So I'm not asking you about predestination, etc. when it comes to humanity. I'm talking about the spirit world right now. So in other words, could a demonic spirit be rehabilitated? Could a demonic spirit accept and change, or one in which was cast down from heaven, could one of them reunite with God?
The way I believe in God, the way I want to believe it really is, I would say yes, it can happen. There's always going to be room for getting it right. The question is, are you going to do it on time? I don't think you just have forever and a day to do it. I think we're all under the assumption that, time is moving forward. I mean, if you just look at your own humanity, you ain't going to last forever. So, yeah, I think it's possible, but it's got to be done within the right time frame.
Okay. What about Satan?
That's deep. That's deep. I think that's a tricky one, because what I believe is what I believe, but at the same time, what I believe is that he holds his position. That's almost like, could he get overthrown? Could there be a junior Lucifer that's like, nah, I could be better than you, big dog, and somebody go against him? I mean, shoot, if he had the guts to go against God, so somebody could go against him. So could he change? Yeah, he changed in the beginning. He was the most beautiful. He was the most whatever. So vanity was his problem, right? Pride was his problem. I don't know, man. That stuff is deep.
We talk about the order. I mean, it all comes back, if you follow where I'm at, right? So it all comes back to this order, and whether or not this order is everlasting, infinite, always applicable. If you dig how I'm throwing this out there at you, that whether or not there's a fixed state of being, like you brought up if I got myself in and get myself out, and I said, Neo, Matrix, right? So if, can the machine world, Matrix, can that be altered? Can Neo alter the program? Because maybe people of our skin color, maybe we're just destined in this dispensation to be jacked up. I mean, just jacked up, and which goes to a lot of other things that we can bring up, and talk about right now. But I mean, maybe no matter how hard you fight in the Matrix right now, if you have a certain skin tone, the algorithm already says, the Matrix already says, we're jacked up. Y'all ain't gonna get along.
But that's true to an extent. If you have some extraordinary talents as a person of color, you can transcend that color thing until, you know what I'm saying? And I'll just leave that out there. But we've had many of successful, prominent people of color over time. We can take it back to Frederick Douglass, who was chilling when black folks wasn't chilling. You know what I'm saying? Frederick Douglass wasn't in no chains. Frederick Douglass wasn't having any of those slave problems that brothers was having back then. Now, how did he not be in that situation? What was he doing differently? What was it?
Well, he couldn't win the presidency.
I got you, but
so there's
the fact that he was out there not in chains, bro.
Well, I hear that, but the House blank row, the house blank row, right? I mean, that cat wasn't in chains either. You know, he was in the big house. I mean, I get your point, but I'm saying, the Matrix has always allowed, you know, somebody to sing and dance for you. The Matrix has always allowed, you know, Django, right? Django. I mean, the Samuel L. Jackson character in Django, he's not in chains either, right? But he's still saying massa.
He in chains, bro.
Okay, now there you go. Now that's exactly what I'm getting at. So Frederick, brother Douglas, so he's not in physical, but he's still inside of the same matrix we're talking about because of the algorithm, right? He's still inside of the matrix, and that's where we, you know, even okay, let's take it out of race for a second, and that's where even the suffrage right, women's right to vote, et cetera, would say, hey, there's a glass ceiling. You know, it's not actually here, but there's only so far that the women believe they could get, right? Because they're saying it's a, you know, there's a ceiling, you can't see it, it's a glass ceiling, but it's there nonetheless, and that's the matrix.
And I'm with that. I'm not in disagreement with that, but the original question was, what can people change? Can we step out of our positioning in the matrix and be something different?
If you can basically break the code, because that takes us back to if Satan, right? That was a step before this one, right? If Satan can go back, and then step before that was, can a demon, can one of the fallen angels, you know, basically, can we break the code and reunite and become back in order? And if that's the case, if a demon can do it, if Satan can do it, then how does the code get broken for people that look like us?
Well,
permanently.
I think, if I can answer the question, I think that some of those, maybe all of us, are in fixed positions. You are what you are. God is God, Satan, human's human. The order we got was the order we got. The only unknown variable is the sin and the life that the sin takes on once it's introduced to the situation. It don't change what you're supposed to be doing or how it's supposed to be done. Your family, it still takes a man and a woman to create a child. Now, the fact that fast forward to now, the man want to be the woman and the woman want to be the man, I don't think that changes the fact that it's only one way to get the child here. You can put on a dress, you can call it a different thing, you can shave it down, bleach it up, you can do all that. But we ain't figured out a way to make it different than what it started at. It's still the original thing here. Now, have we done some stuff to it? Have we tweaked it? And yeah, we done did all that. But man, it don't get no more basic than what it is.
Well, I mean, and we talked about the naturalness. I'm getting an echo on your side right quick. We talked about the naturalness before, and I'm looking at something to the left of the point you just made. If in fact this cycle, this current dispensation, because you did have a Sodom and Gomorrah already before, so this is nothing new. It's new in this current cycle, maybe this new wrinkle, this new chapter in the matrix, right? But just like when Neo met with the architect and he says, you know, wait a minute, and Neo's, what there's been others before me, I'm not the first one, I'm not the one, right? And the dude lets him know, we become very effective at this process. We allow this to happen. You think it's the first time, but it's not. Sodom and Gomorrah was already here. It's already happened. God was, according to our Bible, was already mad enough to wipe cats out. There was a flood, right? There was Noah's Ark. There were these things where this junk ain't new. And furthermore, when we talk about the skin color situation, the people that look like us weren't always in this position. You're talking royalty. You're talking about, this on top of society, not on the bottom.
Well, I think we always were in this position, but I think there's always been levels, like there's levels right now. There are people that are just as dark as me and you, over in the UAE, with more money than train smoke, and they got more living the life that they want to live, but we don't have a clear view of that because of where we are in the world. But
Well,
there's still some of us
I
that are
think
on
we're
top
saying
of
a
it.
similar thing. What I'm saying is historically, before what happened, and especially in this country, before it happened, you can't say that 1,000 years ago we were in the same position. We were on top of society.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that. I'm with it. But I'm saying that there are also people that look like us that was low in society too.
Absolutely.
All we're saying is that there's
But the
nothing new
code
under
was
the
different.
sun.
Right, but the code seems to be different if you look at the rulers of Egypt, let's say, if you look at the rulers of nations before this colonialization, if you look at that, right, historically speaking, that seems like a whole different code, bro. That seems like a whole different thing that's happening.
And for me, it's like the same thing done over. The only thing that's changed is the technology and what we riding in. It's the same thing. We the same humans. We all trying to do a little extra, get a little more money, have a little more sex, do a little more shade, whatever. Backbiting, talking, gossiping. It's always been the order of the day. The difference now is it's so right now. It's so all you got to do, it's in your hand. You're walking around with it. You don't even have to congregate or get together with anybody. There's already groups sitting around. You can just tap in. You ain't got to go to the local bathhouse to get it popping. You in the bathhouse soon as you wake up. You know, you in it already. You just have to tap into it. So to me, that's the difference, is the accessibility to everything. But other than that, it's the same shenanigans. It's still murder, death. It's still the 10 Commandments being broken. We're just doing it on a higher technological, financial level. That's it. Same thing.
Wonder
New
why
day.
it's being allowed. I hear you. I hear you. I wonder why it's even being allowed. Why would God even allow this proximity that you're speaking of? That the sin is more accessible. It's easier, if I follow what you're saying. It's easier to do the same nonsense against God, right? I mean, why would God allow that? The expediency of
It's
the
like anything else, man. I mean, what's better than being chose? You know, me, I'm married. I got a wife. That's the best thing for me is having someone, my woman, choosing me every day over guys that got more than me, taller than me, look better than me, whatever. But she choosing me. God is that God. He's a selfish God. He don't want you choosing nothing else over him. But he gonna give you everything. You can have it all. You can do whatever you want. But at the same time, once you do all that out there and you still left empty and wanting, you got to come back to the real. And the real is over here with the love and the peace. You know what I'm saying? That's what people start craving at a certain time, and then they disappear because they find that peace and they ain't looking for you no more. And you be like, man, I ain't seen so and so or whatever. Well, he found his peace. Wherever that is, that's where they at. The rest of us out here, if we don't have the
continue
peace, we in the
to
chaos.
you're describing God, and that's deep, right? So go ahead and push that a little bit, bro. So you said God, you mentioned the word selfish, and I mean I understand where you're coming from. So my further understanding of what you're saying is that God feels a deeper appreciation for humanity when humanity chooses to love God back. That God has the sensibility that although there may be billions of people, that if Joyce or Johnny or whomever actually walks towards God in mind, body, and spirit, that somehow pleases God to see that they on their own volition chose God.
In my opinion, I say yeah. I'm a parent. I don't think there's anything else you want from your children except for appreciation. acknowledge that you've done something for them to benefit them. What else you want from them? You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, you want them to make it to the NBA and say, you know, you did it, blah blah blah. But everybody ain't going to the NBA. Everybody ain't doing that. So in the basic of basics, yeah, you want them to be successful, happy, all that. But for you on the personal tip, you just want to be acknowledged. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. Good looking out. You the best, you know? And as a parent, yeah, you jealous of the uncles, the aunties, the grandmas, anybody your kids like more than you. You like, damn. You know what I'm saying? How can you not be? I've been with you with day one. You know, I'm wiped the first tear, gave you your first meal. You know what I'm saying? I'm him. But you gonna like somebody else? You gonna side with somebody else?
Well said on a human level. I mean, beautiful examples on a human level. But doesn't that make God seem a little petty? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the creator of the universe.
Yeah, I hear you.
But you know, I mean, I made you, okay? I made you, and I can certainly make billions more like you if I choose. And yet, I set this up where you and your, you know, and your small finite self can actually impact me. And I mean, this is the creator of the universe talking, right? I mean, it's like an ant, right? If an ant loves a human, does that really make the human have a great day because the ant looked up and said, you know what? You're really great. You're really special. A spider looks at you and says, you know what? I just think you're great. Does that make your whole day better because a spider acknowledged you?
We're on a spot right now that's called Rhodes German Shepherds. Now those German Shepherds can't thank us, acknowledge us, pat us on the back, but we have a sense of pride for them. We have a sense of adoration for them. We have a desire for them to do well and be placed in a good home. You're not going to allow just anybody to get them. You know what I'm saying? You're going to vet them and
That's
make
right.
sure that they're going to the right place. You're going to put things in order to make sure they're covered.
Absolutely.
The same way the creator has done for us. I'm not saying you want the dog to thank you, but you definitely don't want them to bite you.
Well, that's where I said you gave beautiful examples on a human level, right? But it definitely pushes me. It pushes me when I think of the awesomeness of God being, you know, one time, your father, he and I were discussing scripture, and you know, he said to me, he said, you know, someday you gotta get your mind around. And then he says to me, the scripture, it repenteth God that he made man. And that's in the Bible. And he was talking to me, and he's talking, and you know how he talks, you know, get your mind around, right? But it repenteth God that he made man. We just jacking up humanity to the point where God is saying to God, I shouldn't have made y'all. I regret, I'm paraphrasing, I regret that I even made y'all. So that God has set God up. God has set God up to a place of sensibility that God didn't have to set God up in that way. You feel me? I mean, there's a sense of vulnerability there that God did not have to allow God to ever even have. That's weird to me. And I mean, you know, these are awfully human characteristics, awfully human emotions.
And I think that's
the Almighty.
I think that's why it is. The Bible speaks on us being made in the image of God. So the little that we know about God, we know that we are part of it, or that we are a reflection. You know what I'm saying? We might not be God, but we're a reflection of God. We're a cloudy reflection in a puddle of dirt, but we can still be made out. So the characteristics we have, they're not wrong. Everything is put into context. Your feelings and emotions are useful if put in the right context of situation. It's only when they're taken out of context that they're bad. So I think it's okay to see God like a human, but you have to put it on a higher level. Are we wrong to think God would be jealous if we like something more than him? I don't think that's wrong, because the books say it. Are we a disappointment at times? Hell yeah. I'm sure I've been a disappointment to my parents, my family, my society, my community. But at the same time, there's things I've done that have made people proud. And how can those things coexist in the same lifetime? It's just a timeline. You just got to live it out. And I think that's what it is. Sometimes God like us, sometimes he don't. I think that's okay. But I think it's better for us when we try to be liked, when we're trying to do right. That make everything better.
I'm gonna throw it up there right quick, man. Let me throw it up there. Here it is, man. And again, context is important. So those that want to go back and read the Genesis story, as Brother Troy said, he's absolutely right. Our teacher did wonderfully teach that lesson. Always get the context. So feel free to get the background. So yeah, so your pops gave me this verse in one of our discussions, some deep stuff, because it's one of those verses that I might not have seen or let it stick the way it needed to without him illuminating it. And that's some deep stuff. That's some real deep stuff right there.
It is. And this discussion comes up sometimes because I just got through reading that verse. We talked about creation. We talked about Garden of Eden. And this is just a question I throw out there that's been thrown to me. When God created Adam, then created Eve, was there already humans here?
What necessitates the question? In other words, why would it be necessary? Because normally when I hear that question, it's because people are talking about things that happened later. Well, then who did they later have children with, and who did they later, were they
exactly that incest part? Because I'm reading.
So right. So
I'm reading exactly where we are, like in that first verse of that Genesis 6:6. This New International Version. So, chapter 6, verse 1. When now my phone goes out. When human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Once again, New International Version, so it's different than NIV version, but for them to put the daughters on a human level, and then the men that they're speaking of on the godly level.
Well, continue. Go a little further.
Okay, I'm on
because it gets even weirder with the giants. Go a little further.
Then the Lord said, "My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim," and we'll talk about them because I got an understanding of who they are, and that's deep, right? "Were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them, they were the heroes of old men of renown. It was told to me, I want to say I read it, but I don't know if I read it. But let me just tell you what I heard. The Nephilim, those people were supposed to be half angel, half human.
You believe it?
Bruh, I tell you all the time, the older I get, the less I know. So when you say believe, is it possible? I think is more the question.
Oh, well, I mean, that the realm of possibility, we're talking about God and, again, the code, the matrix. I mean, we're into possibility. Well, yeah, I mean, at that point, now you really go.
I think we just have to accept it as that. I think once again,
but that kind of gives us an out, though. Possibility. I mean, the Bible even says nothing's impossible with God. Okay, so I mean, it kind of closes our study at that point, because then we have to just acknowledge if the Bible is correct, it says nothing's impossible with God. So therefore, yes, a person can be born with 32 heads. Can a person be born with 32 heads? I don't think so. But then you say, well, the Bible says nothing's impossible with God. So then you got to say, okay, well, I guess it's possible. If God wanted somebody to have 32, 33, exponential,
so be it.
I'm with you. And there are things in the ocean. There are things in the ocean that are not, a human, but they, there's some crazy stuff in the ocean. Crazy stuff.
Exactly. And that's the point I'm getting at. There's so many things that we don't know, so many things we don't have a grasp on. For me to say what did or didn't happen at a time is hard to do. I mean, did dinosaurs really live? Did Moses have one? You feel me? I mean, all of these things, when we talk in time, it's so difficult because time is so vast and we only have this little glimpse of time that we're in. You're only in time, 100 years at the most, but there's millions of years that have happened, and we can't definitively say when people started keeping track of stuff, or who kept track of what, or what they kept track of, and how it got to us. I mean, we all talk about additional books to the Bible that were left out. How do we all know this? You know what I'm saying? How do you get
what
the
do you
book?
Mean? How do we know?
How do you get these books? And you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
I mean, but you do know about the Apocrypha, and you do know that there were books that were not so-called canonized. I mean, you do know that.
I know, but bro, the how that I know, like what we know from growing up and all the information we got in high school, elementary, leading up to what we know now. When you go back over that, man, what we were told were not the whole truths or not exact truths.
Well, and a lot of that, I hear you. And a lot of that, and we did have great teachers, by the way, I mean, you had some great ones. I know I did. And then we also had some that were very suspect. We both had the full range, the full range. And that includes, and this is where I was going with that includes inside of the church. We have people who they may have, out of the goodness of their heart, they want to stand in front or volunteer their service to teach, and they may not be qualified, but they may have in their heart, they had the goodwill in their heart to try to, but they may not have had the ability to answer the tough questions. And so many times people stay away from certain, areas because they don't want the possibility of what could be asked of them if they go down that road and they know they're not equipped for it. And one of the reasons why I celebrate you in this entire conversation that we're having is the fact of your openness and your willingness to even take a stab at these questions, because they're not easy. These are very, very difficult questions to which many people in Sunday school would not be trying to answer. They're not trying to, spend the time to do that and be vulnerable enough in front of the class to say, yo, I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. No, they might give you some junk, right? Or kick you out, which was
or
my
not
case.
even attempt it. But I think what we've learned in the time that we've spent being taught and the way that it's come about, I think we've learned that it's fluid, that as you keep growing and getting older, your knowledge becomes new again because you have a new understanding of it. What I understood about the Bible at 20 is very different than what I understand about it now. And there's a lot that I'm willing to say now that I wouldn't have been able to speak on then. Um,
Such
that being,
as,
yeah,
such as.
well, the things we're talking about now, the fact that we're even bringing up the idea that there might have been a hybrid human, that there was giants and all these other things. And man, everything is real. Everything that's happened is real. It's just it was happening in the time that it needed to happen. The question is, how is it necessary to our time now and what we need to know? And that's the part that I think we get caught up on. I don't think all the things that we're trying to know are necessary to know. We need to know the basics of how you get down with the creator. And we know that from This Is Salvation, this is how you do it. But outside of that, once you're down with salvation, bro, I can't save y'all. I can't convince you this is it. Either you know or you don't know. Either the signs are clear to you like they're clear to me, or they're not. And I had this discussion with my son, and I feel like me and you have had this discussion, that sometimes what you grow up believing, you believe it totally, fully, and wholeheartedly. But as you grow, you start to see that everybody's not believing the same thing. Everybody's not acting out what we thought they were on. The circle of believers is not as big as we want to believe. And everybody that's saying they with it ain't with it.
I think that's true. Even the Bible speaks of the narrow road that is the right road, but broad is the way. Vast is the way. The multiplicity of options to go the wrong way, right? And we go back to that scripture about the God of this world blinding, right? That it's also true. Scripture speaks of that even the very elect would be deceived because Satan's coming as what? An angel of light. So there are lots of, in these times, lots of so-called right ways. And that's intentional. That's also a part of the code. Continue our parallel here of the Matrix, to make the masses believe that there isn't a definite right way. That goes back all the way back to the Garden of Eden. That's consistent. Of what? Well, you don't have to accept what God said, that you could eat all of this and not eat that. You don't have to accept that. There's no oneness of truth. There's a explanation for that. If you do that, God just doesn't want you to be able to see things like he sees them. And there's a negotiation with the code. And that's been Satan's role from jump, is to, from what the Bible teaches us, to open up the possibilities that right is not really right. It's what you feel. It's negotiable. It's fluid.
Society has definitely muddied the water to the point where the family structure has been questioned and tainted, to the point where, do we need a man and a woman to be a family? Could it be two men, two women? As long as they're playing the family role, it's okay. So yeah, 100%, we are getting false information on how to succeed. And some of the people that are representing what we believe in are guilty of leading people falsely. accepting things they
Uh-huh.
shouldn't accept, tolerating
And
things that are intolerable.
and this is where, again, if the Bible is true, then the Bible speaks of certain things definitively. Okay. And we as contemporaries, there are certain groups, there are certain laws, there are certain ways in which culture accepts, again, what is the broad way of what's right versus what's wrong. But if the Bible is true, it ain't so. If the Bible is true, then these things are spelled out clearly. So you can see the dilemma here. If you are to accept the Bible, then you're going to be at odds with contemporary society. It's just no getting around it. So to the second point that you were making there, brother, our leaders, religious, etc., they're in a bind now. Because if you stand on what this Bible says, how big is your congregation going to be? I mean, if you truly lay it down and say, the Bible says it, that settles it, and it doesn't matter what society says, it doesn't matter what the legal community says, doesn't matter what social acceptance or political correctness dictates, none of these things impact what I'm going to say to my flock today. That's a very rare position. And will you still be able to pay your mortgage next month if you take that stance?
Well, look, that was the next thing I was going to get at. These compromises have been made for financial gain. And the way this society is set up, it puts you in a bind to where survival requires you to make finance a priority. In order to survive in this society, you have to put bill paying, mortgage paying as a priority, or you're going to be living a life that you're not happy with. That being said, do you have to make that a priority in every facet of life? Meaning, the only people I can give a listening ear to are people that are in a certain financial bracket or live in a certain zip code or drive a certain vehicle. If you're not having a certain level of stuff, then you're not valuable. And that's unfortunately where society has gotten to. I've had conversations with people that are homeless, and I've learned things like you can't judge a guy or a girl because she's homeless and just look at them as they're trash. You can't do that. But some people won't know that because the society is brought up to gauge you on the amount of things that you have, the stuff that you have. That's where your value is held. And that is
That just as true for the local church? Is that just as true? Like, if the church doesn't have the latest this, the latest that, if you drive by, you look in the parking lot, and if the cars are not brand new and sports cars and luxury cars, and the status isn't there, if the bishop or preacher, pastor, what have you, is not living on that super baller level, does it make you not want to be associated? Because if you don't see the prosperity, maybe there's something wrong. Is that where we are now? Because of
that's
the
where we are
prosperity
now.
teaching.
100% that's where we are, and that's unfortunate, because when God in the Bible speaks of prosperity, they're not speaking of baubles and financial things. When you're successful or prosperous in the Lord, that's something different. Like, I got everything I want. Like, right now, I got everything I want, everything I could ask for, I got it. And for me to be able to say that, with the road that I've traveled in life, it's nothing but God. You know what I'm saying? How could I have everything I want with the choices I've made, the places I've been, the things I've endured, but I'm still living in a great neighborhood, in a wonderful house with a wonderful wife, nice career, nice family. You know what I'm saying? I got all the things that anybody could want. Are they perfect? No. But what you want is the question, and are you getting it? And there's going to be many people that
we walking into something now, brother. We walking into something, because if I heard you right, you're saying that it's not those things, but the Bible also speaks about giving you the desires of your heart. And we go
I
back
got
to
it.
that. Okay, but there are some people whose desire is to live that lifestyle, and they are truly praying for that, and on their prayer
What I
cloth
say to that,
and on
Sid,
their
what I
in
say
their
to that,
blessing board, they have these their faith
I,
board. They
I
have that
I know
car, they have
exactly what
that
you're
house.
talking
They have
about.
okay.
And what I say to that is that's misguided. Not that you shouldn't want nice things or you shouldn't want comfort and comfortability. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is that for a person to believe that a certain amount of cotton, a certain amount of metal, a certain amount of rubber, and whatever other materials I could think of, if you have a high level of materials, that somehow your life is better, that's just misguided. Now there are things you can do with having a lot of stuff, but what is your what is your purpose for wanting it? What is your agenda? Are you wanting it so you can feel like you're better than your neighbor? Are you wanting it to try to help another human? I mean, intention is everything. If my goal when I set out on my day is love, learning and teaching versus manipulation, uh menacing, I don't know. Those intentions make a difference. If I'm trying to hoodwink you versus help you, that's a difference. If I'm talking to you to be a pickpocket, or I'm talking to you to, what I'm saying, turn you on to something that might make you better, or I don't know, benefits you, there's a difference. And I think we have to speak to that. We have to speak to intention. What is your intention out here? What are you trying to do? Are
And
you
I hear
trying to
that.
help? Are you trying to hurt? Are you just trying to acquire to, what's your intention?
I agree with you. I agree intention is paramount. I do agree that the intent, the motivation, I agree with you. But are we also saying that we go back to that church with the bling, etc.? Are we also saying that in today's society, it doesn't make a difference? Because I think what we've already established is it does make a difference. So if I am trying to witness, if I am trying to, and my intent is to show the young brothers and sisters that they can get this too, and I don't have it, that's a difficult sell
Well,
in
once
today's
again, when you
society.
say this too, what you trying to get? Now, if I'm spitting, or if I'm talking to them and I'm trying to say you can get this too, what I have a way for you to acquire it. I have a way for you to get to it. Um, Now, if you just talking about material things, a house in the Hamptons, everybody's not going to achieve that. And there's some people that no matter what, you can't draw a diagram to that.
I hear you. Hold on for a second, brother. are back. Feeling good, feeling great. Yeah, wonderful German Shepherd pups doing their thing with a nice little relaxation. Our wonderful special guest, Roy CTR the third. We don't want to overtax the brother. He's graced us late night with some beautiful insight, and we want to make sure that he's got a little rest so that he can come back again and join us soon. So we don't want to make him feel like we're going to take him all the way down the road and back again. We want to make sure we leave a little gas in the tank so he'll say, oh yeah, I'll come on back. But I definitely we appreciate, man, that your boldness and your courage. You really just grabbed these questions with both hands, man. I mean, it was all free and on the, just freewheeling on both sides.
I'm gonna tell you, brother, it makes it easier when you're talking to family, friend. You know what I'm saying? It makes it easier. It's easy to have this dialogue with you, bro.
It's love, straight love, and people that get a chance to hear this. It's amazing because we talk like this, but very few people have ever heard the conversation. But we've been talking like this all of our lives in one way or another, various topics. So it's a blessing to always do it with you. Chop it up. Iron sharpens iron. And my hat continues to tip to you. Appreciate you. And much love to you, brother. So again, if anybody wants to continue these type of conversations with the brother, and also if you're in the West Michigan area, you have an opportunity to not only chop it up, but get the chop. The brother is a professional barber, been doing it 20 plus years, and you can sit in his chair and you can have these kinds of dialogue with him week after week. If you move to the town, or you could just drive or fly to town, you balling like that, you anywhere in the world, just come through for a cut and go back to Japan. Come through for a cut. If you live in Australia, get a cut, it's a conversation, and fly back out. Hey, if it's like that, hey, I'm sure he'll fit you in. If you just flew all the way from Australia, he'd probably fit you in. Give him a little tip.
Shout out to Perth, Australia.
There it is. These military men, they are world travelers. So, yeah. So again, let the folks know, if you don't mind, if they want to get a cut and continue the conversation with you, where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me 1117 Wealthy, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Lady Love Barbershop. We're open 9 a.m. starting on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Come on in, get a cut. Great conversation, great atmosphere. Get a taste of the city.
And for those of you, that's Grand Rapids, Michigan. Now, don't come with no foolishness. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, we don't do that foolishness. This is a world wide web, and we on social media. Some kids might have the wrong idea, like, oh, that's where he at. Nah. We don't do the foolishness around here. We definitely believe that we have every right to stop any threat. I say that again. We believe that we have every right to stop the threat. Holla if you hear it. So these folks, we got families. This brother here has got the wife he's told you about. He's got children and grandchildren. So when he offers an address for you to come and get a cut and conversation, that's for the positive in you. That's for the positive. Anything other, you need to think twice, 3 times, 4 times, because it will not be tolerated when it comes to safety. We believe in safety, and we're prepared to keep people safe. We ain't looking for no trouble. Don't start no stuff. Won't be no stuff. Much love to you, bruh. And we hope that you'll come by soon again. And we'll continue to go wherever we go, however we get there, but we'll get there together. Any closing words, bro?
Nothing to say. Just love you, man. Appreciate the opportunity. Dogs look great. We'll talk again soon.